Hello and welcome to Lightcast webinars. Really great to have you with us today. I'm excited to be talking about regional skills needs, how we unlock learner potential, all great stuff. We have with us Ben Owen, who is the Director for Further Education at Lightcast, and also Stuart Allen from SCL Education Group, who Ben will introduce shortly. So if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please put them in your question box on your control panel, and we will endeavour to get back to those at the end of the presentation. I will be sending out a follow-up email, so keep your eyes open for that. That will include the slides and the webinar recording, and also Stuart's contact details. So if you have any questions, as I said, put them in the control panel. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Really excited to be here Friday morning on what will be a very fascinating subject, and obviously delighted for Stuart to join us, and how busy Stuart is, and SCL are doing some great work across the country at the minute. So I'm really excited to hear what Stuart's got to tell us around what SCL are doing. Just before I bring Stuart in, I would like to just a quick reminder to everybody, we're in curriculum planning season, and so just a quick reminder for everybody, obviously we are available throughout the kind of FE, HE, education and skills teams. We are available for training and support. So, you know, we've got Ofsted now that are kind of back in full flow. There's been lots of feedback from the sector around the new kind of enhanced inspection, particularly skills. I was myself involved in delivering a session at a college this week while Ofsted were in, and that was a fascinating experience. So just a quick reminder to everybody that do subscribe, or people that don't yet subscribe, is that obviously we're here to help you kind of articulate your intent, thinking about that kind of regional skills demand, particularly as LSIPs and kind of SDF continue to roll out. And we're going to hear a practical example in a second from Stu, but just a quick reminder, if anybody, you know, is an existing customer and wants to discuss how we can support curriculum planning training, look at your supply and demand, please reach out to your account manager. Equally, if you are not yet a customer, then please get in touch, and our sales director Carla would be delighted to talk you through what we do. So that's the kind of update from us. Now I am delighted to introduce Stuart Allen, who is the Group Operations Director / Principal at SCL Learning. Morning, Stu.
Morning, Ben. Morning, everyone.
Really excited to have you here. So I'm going to act as the kind of pseudo Chris Whitty from the briefings of lockdown. I'll move your presentation on for you. So really delighted to kind of hear about what SCL are doing, what you are as an organisation, and ultimately how we're kind of helping you unlock some of that regional skills demand. So over to you, Stu.
Thanks, Ben, and just thanks again for giving us an opportunity to share a bit of a case study today of how we are working really effectively with yourselves to plan and drive forward our adult skills strategy as we look to continue to influence as many people's lives as possible through what we do. So a bit of a structure or how I've approached this session is, I think it's useful just to give a little bit of an introduction of who we are to set the scene, and then really go into what is our adult skills strategy and how, more importantly, we've worked with yourself and Lightcast data analysts to shape our offer to ensure that it absolutely lands in the areas that we really want to drive forward to help more individuals, adults, either get into work or allow them to achieve better paid work as they move forward in their lives. And then hopefully there'll be a little bit of time at the end if there's any questions, whether that's through the chat function or not, to answer. So thanks again, Ben. So just to start us off, I think it's just important to set the scene of who we are, because sometimes you could go onto our website and it looks like all we do is support young people get into football, cricket and rugby, and we're so much more than that as a group. Our principle or our strategy, our intent is we use sports-centered learning as a way to truly inspire those individuals into education so we can transform their future careers or their future life and what they achieve in their communities. So very much we use sport as a vehicle to transform, to influence and to inspire more individuals into education so that they improve their life chances. And what makes us different, just next slide, Ben. is that we try to use sport as a motivator, not necessarily to allow people to be more talented in sport or to achieve the professional status, for example, that allows them to play sport for a career. It's very much using sport to develop the physical well-being, the mental fitness, the resilience of an individual, so that not only do they achieve skills, knowledge that allows them to access work, it's developing those transferable skills that allows them the best opportunity to stand out from the crowd so that they can get into those jobs and flourish and develop and use those skills that we deliver to them and we teach them through our various qualifications and career curriculum pathways. So sport is a big part of what we do and a big part of our adult skills strategy, which I'll come on to in a moment. Next slide, please, Ben. And just so everyone's aware of our group, again, it's quite a complex organisation, but one that we are really clear on how and what we do. So on your screen now, you'll see our many divisions that make up our SCL Education and Training Group. And it's very much around providing an opportunity for an individual, whether they are 4 years old or whether they are 54 years old, to benefit from what we do and our various education offer. So on your screen, without going into detail, you can start seeing our business units that make up the group. And in particular, our newest area, which is SCL Creative, which you'll see a TBC on there because we're just finalising the brand and the intent statement that will go to market in the new year. So that's very much our group. Each division looks after a different type of provision, a different skill, a different sector, with DNA Skills at the end just being our I guess sister organisation, which is around endpoint assessment for sports, fitness and health qualifications. So that's very much our group. And as I mentioned earlier, that the whole strategy of our group is built on allowing that lifelong learning journey. So if a young person started on one of our programs at 4 years old in our SCL Active division, they will have such a fantastic experience that they may come back and study with us at 16 to 18 on one of our study programs, then progress to an apprenticeship within our SCL professional arm of the business, and then come back and do some adult skills as they're in work flourishing, but they want to develop further skills to progress. So it's very much around this customer lifetime value that our group stands for. Thank you, Ben. And just a little bit about our aims and what we stand for and what we attempt to build our foundation on. And culture is a big thing for us, like it is for many organisations and like it is within sport. But our principles as we build this foundation and we deliver our services based on incredible people, delivering incredible experiences that leads to an incredible performance. And that's very much our heart and our aims of the business that we deliver. Thanks, Ben. So moving on, just a bit of a headline view to our adult skills strategy. And as I've said, I'm going to demonstrate how we've worked very closely with Ben and the Lightcast team to really inform this strategy. And we could not have done this without the fantastic services that obviously Lightcast provide to give us the opportunity to hone into what we want to achieve through the delivery of high quality adult skills. So the why, what is the purpose behind our adult skills strategy? Well, the first thing is to deliver high quality qualifications to support adults either get into work or increase their opportunities for better. We want to develop hubs within communities, and because of our study program provision, we have sites in every single combined authority across the country where we deliver quality study programs that we are transforming into adult learning hubs so that those hubs can deliver high quality skills to the community. We want to stick to what we're going, our strategy sticks to our roots, which is around the powers and principles of sport to unlock potential, giving adults an opportunity to learn in excellent facilities at clubs and sites with great reputations, and this concept of setting an aspirational community hub for adults to go and learn in. We want to continue then to establish meaningful relationships with all the combined authorities, all the relevant local authorities and councils. We are very much focused on, yes, we know there's the big ticket items that central governments are driving and what some of the LEPs are informing are important within the different localities. But more importantly, how can we get the community into good quality work within sectors and jobs that are currently recruiting? And that relationship between us and our club and our partners is really important so that we transform our organisation into a true adult skills provider, so that we can continue to grow what we've already developed, but very much having a localised offer using our aspirational sports hubs as a motivational tool to introduce more adults into high quality education. Also, what's really motivated us to grow further in adult education is the fact that we were recently inspected in April 2022 and got outstanding for what we're currently doing with our adult learning programs. That allowed us to test a model that we now are very confident that it works, and that's allowed us to now really drive forward our areas of growth so that we can have a greater impact on a wider, broader range of individuals. And very much our strategy is built and influenced heavily by the local, national, regional research and analysis that we conduct to really understand, is our offer going to lead adults to better pay, better jobs, or more jobs, or high level jobs, but also with a very clear focus on the lower skill and the lower paid sectors, where actually there's a real issue with staff shortage at the moment, and adults are struggling to get into these areas. So we utilise all of these different methods of data and analysis to inform where we're going, and of course Lightcast has been a phenomenal support with that. And our strategy has been built with the fact that we have a presence in every single combined authority. So an example on your screen right now is GLA, and you can see a list of some of our sites and our employer partners through what we built in our apprenticeship department that's allowed us to work with them to ensure that we get to as many adult learners as possible to benefit from our programs. And of course, these are the other combined authorities that we have sites and venues in. So our strategy has been built on very much our ambition to develop what's on your screen now, a hub aspirational in the community at a club that has got a real reputation and a presence within a community, and using all of our relationships, either through that club, through us as a education provider, and through our many employer partners, to find the learners and to find the business to really get to the adults who need high quality education and training. Thanks, Ben. So now what I just want to do is share a bit of a case study of how we've worked closely with Lightcast to bring that strategy to life in a particular locality through one of these aspirational hubs. So one of our aspirational hubs that we've recently set up is in Manchester, and that's one of our club partners called FC United. It's a club that is absolutely engrossed in a community that requires strong, high quality aspirational education, but want something different to allow them to leave their house and have the confidence to engage in education, because for some of our adults, going to a traditional provider is just not the route for them. So this is very much about how we built the aspirational learning hub at FC United. So the use of Lightcast data analysis, for those that use Lightcast at the moment, or for those that don't but are considering, I cannot recommend this highly enough. The data you get at local level that's above and beyond what the combined authorities, the industrial strategies, the LEP strategies, etc., the LSIPs, for example, are going to give you, this data provides absolute frontline information about the education attainment of its community, the scale of industries that, and sectors that are either growing or declining, what occupations are continuing to require the vacancies, or there are jobs in those areas that are currently recruiting, and particularly like the one on the right in terms of the top posted job analysis as well, where you can get into the absolute detail of what jobs are sought after within that locality, that you can provide curriculum and qualifications to support adults get into those jobs. And interestingly, I've used common skills and soft skills first, because actually when you look at when you speak to some of the combined authorities, and when you look at some of the local intelligence that's around the regions that you might want to support, and that we're definitely looking at supporting, it's not always the fact that individuals haven't developed the technical or hard skills to get into the job. It's the fact they can't access it because they don't have the communication skills, or the customer service skills, or the confidence or resilience or health to be able to get access to them, or to stand out from the crowd. So the data that sorry, I used your old name there then, the data that Lightcast provide is really, really useful for not only going, what's the technical qual that you can offer to enable and equip them with the skill to access the jobs that are recruiting, how are you going to make them stand out from the crowd by understanding the soft skills and the common skills that the organisations that are recruiting to these jobs are after for them to be effective when they're actually in work. So this is fantastic data that allows us to design curriculum that is really on point. And finally, the last snippet that I've showed is something that is, I believe, is reasonably new, Ben, to Lightcast, but is again a game changer when it comes to your phasing of when you might offer qualifications or curriculum to adult population, which is exactly what we're doing. So I've just used an example in Manchester of where we have the quarters of the year and what sectors, skills, jobs are actually growing or moving in terms of the demand in that locality. So you can see marketing, for example, within Manchester for the latter ends of the quarter becomes a highly sought after sector, which means potentially when we start to look at marketing qualifications, we would look at plan to deliver that near the back end of the academic year when we know there's jobs for those adults to go into. So fantastic, again, bit of data that allows you to inform how you plan your curriculum over a full academic cycle. So what did that lead us to? So really what I'm just going to do is share how we used all that fantastic data to develop that FC United and SCL Education Aspirational Hub. So through the research, we looked at what the GMCA, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority strategic focus is and highlighted where we felt we could have the greatest impact. So when you look at improving population health, well, what you will see in our models is the value added proposition that we add on to all qualifications we offer through being entrenched within the sports sector. So we looked and identified what the strategic focus was of the combined authority. We then absolutely honed into the Lightcast data and looked at the primary occupations that we could target and the secondary occupations that we could target based on the posts that were the most popular and are continuing to be the most popular in relation to recruitment. So you can see some that we're really looking at to help adults either get in or become better at. Thanks, Ben. The hard and common skills that came out of that analysis. So again, when we looked at, right, what are the quals we should offer and what are the common skills that we can develop within those quals and through our sporting principles to allow adults to leave us not just with a bit of paper that says they're now level 1, 2, 3 qualified in X, but they can actually communicate effectively and have the confidence to sit in front of an interviewer and sell themselves to a post that is recruiting within those sectors that I just went through. And finally, we also work very cleverly with our hubs to try and build and meet what their business strategy is. So it's a proper partnership in the relation to, yes, we're the education provider, the funder, the experts, but of course we want to work with clubs so that they achieve their community goals, because FC United is a great example of a club that truly wants to transform their community, Moss Side, Manchester, through the power of football. So we also wanted to make sure we took into consideration their strategy to build our curriculum offer. And what that led to, Ben, is this horrendous graphic that I've asked marketing now to develop in a lot better way. But what that kind of shows you is where, as a group and the different divisions of our group, we've now developed curriculum and an offer that we're driving forward within that locality. So you can see some of the qualifications that we're offering out of each business group, with SCL Enigmas being our main digital arm through esports and digital apprenticeships and adult skills. But these are the areas we thought, actually, based on that research, this is the stuff that's really going to land if we get more adults engaged in this provision. But what you will see is this value added on the right, which I'll come to in a moment, but that's the part of our strategy that is attempting to show the adults we can develop you in a way that truly allows you to transform not only your education, but your life through the power and principles of sport. So we have two different models that we operate out of that hub based on all the qualifications that I just went through. The first one is a high quality face-to-face delivery through the use of the aspirational ground and the facilities at the club. So adults will come to that facility, they will be a part of a club that they may support, love or know is important to them. And we deliver high quality qualifications in a face-to-face way that gives them the skills in relation to the technical areas of what they're doing, but of course offers the common skills through the value added proposition, which is on the following slide. So not only will our adults do a high quality qualification, they will get access to some of these things that are on your screen now, which is the point of the value added proposition that we built using and inspired by Lightcast data, particularly around the common skills that are clearly identified are lacking through the adults, lacking, or more importantly, are what employers are looking for from candidates in the jobs that are recruiting. So for example, an adult at FC United might be doing a digital skill qualification, but during that duration of that qual, they will get access to a first team manager giving them a motivational talk on confidence or motivation, first team captain doing a healthy nutrition masterclass so that they can go home to their families and eat better and look after themselves better. We have a mindfulness coach who will come and do some mental resilience and mindfulness practice. So this added value is the bit that really we're excited about, because it's truly trying to offer something different for adults who may not be attracted to, I guess, traditional ways of learning. So that's our model 1. And our model 2 is very much, again, using the hub as a vehicle, but more allowing adults to access some other training and qualifications through the use of an online platform and e-learning solutions, whilst also making sure we manage that learner journey as well as we would if it was a face-to-face class. So model 2 is for those adults who may be in work and want to upskill to get better pay jobs, or are not in work but know they need to get something to access work, but still do not feel comfortable of coming into a face-to-face venue and learning with other adults in a cohort because they're not quite there yet, or they need a more flexible way of learning. So model 2 is giving that agility to our opportunity to help more adults learn. But of course, the important thing, next slide, is around how we control the implementation. So it's not just here's a platform, here's e-learning, go away and learn and see you later when you've done everything. We have a real robust learner journey that is managed by pastoral advisors and tutors, so that those learners are looked after throughout every step of their online journey. And also we encourage them to still come into sites when they're ready to benefit from some of that value added, because again, it's really important we use that as a hub to make sure that our adults are developing those crucial transferable soft employability skills. And now our aim, and you know, I'm being very honest because it's a problem I'm sure for many on the call. It is very, very difficult to get the money. It's very, very difficult to get contracts, and we're been quite fortunate with some, but of course the only way we're now going to grow is by working with primes who might want support delivering some of their contracts and can't quite deliver it themselves. And we are also going into many of our own direct bids now as the cycle for AEB and some of the combined authorities start to open up. So our focus now of this strategy is we've got a curriculum that is on point. We've got learners ready to go. We're in 4 or 5 different areas where the FC United hub has been replicated with some other sites across the country. Our main focus now is how can we support primes deliver, because they might be struggling to deliver their contract themselves, or how do we get access to more of our own money through the different routes that are on your screen, because of course it's there's enough out there. It's just how you get it and where you can work with partners to deliver it to the level that you want to influence and inspire so many people's lives. And that's it. That's very much a headline overview of what we are doing, how we have used and continue to work very closely with Lightcast, not just for adult skills, but for all of our provision types. And hopefully that's demonstrated how you can use Lightcast in a way to develop something that is really meaningful for a community, a region. And I'm pleased to say we're getting a lot of interest now from the combined authorities and some primes, because they can see what we're trying to do through particularly that power and principles and influence of sport. So hopefully that's been okay, Ben. I may have waffled a bit, so apologies, but thank you for the opportunity, and I'll stop and take any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Stu, and I think, yeah, never apologise for being as passionate as you are about the FE space. And I think it's a fascinating model. We haven't got any questions at the minute. That's kind of normal. I think people might email us or digest what you've talked about and maybe talk after. I mean, I've got a couple of questions, but I suppose from my perspective, I mean, you kind of summarised, I suppose, the question that I'm going to ask in the last slide is funding, because obviously that is the key, I think, and I think that's been some of the frustration out of the stuff that's happened in the LSIP Trailblazers. There's been, you know, obviously there's kind of a massive myriad of kind of qualification funding requirements that are out there, but all the LSIP pilots have pretty much said the same thing around kind of digital transferable skills like you've talked about. Is this, I suppose, from my perspective, you said you've pitched this to kind of combined authorities as well. how have they kind of responded to this, you know, in terms of the kind of data that you're presenting, and how enthusiastic are they about kind of finding funding solutions? Because that's always the problem, isn't it, with the sector? So for my point, a couple of questions. One, how have the kind of devolved agencies responded to the data? And two, how are they kind of thinking about how it's going to be funded moving forward? Oh, sorry, have we lost you there, Stu? Are you still there?
Oh, sorry, but no, I think you went a little bit. So I got to the first question, which was about how the combined authorities responded to what we're doing, and then you cut off. Sorry, mate.
Oh, apologies. And so the second question was, if they the positive around this funding, actually positive around the data, how are they thinking that they're going to fund that moving forward?
So the conversations we've had with the combined authorities have been really positive in relation to the offer and our approach to the strategy. So when they see that we've used not just their information, their strategy, their focus, their priorities, but also Lightcast, and that they can see how that information is being used to direct the offer in a way that actually is going to have impact on allowing more adults to get into work or allow more adults to upskill, they've really taken an interest in that, but also in our offer of the value added of, because they're doing it within a sports setting with an organisation who understands and have a foundation and a golden thread of sports centre learning that gives all of that value added to the health, the mental fitness, the resilience, the growth of a person. They've really taken an interest to the point where, you know, they're clearly asking us to wait for DPSs to open and procurements to come out and really make sure we're bidding either as a standalone organisation or as a part of a joint bid with perhaps a prime who is well known within that area. But there comes the frustration, Ben, which is, as an organisation, we've got, for example, in Manchester, hundreds of learners, adults ready to go, registered their interest, they're ready to start some of our programmes, we've done all that work, but we've only managed to get a small proportion of second tier money, and we've got to wait to get on the FPS that opens in December because we're not on there, and therefore we're going to miss out on the next procurement round. So again, we're going to have to start working with hopefully some primes who want a supply chain to deliver some of their contract, where, as my view is, and maybe this is really naive, Ben, and quite ignorant, but I just wish it was easier because we've got learners ready to go, and we just need the money now to be able to invest in what we're building. So lots of interest in what we've got, lots of interest in the product. Love the fact that we've made it evidence-based using Lightcast and other forms of research, but then I'm still being told to wait for procurements to come out, DPSs, make contact with primes, and that stuff's just very, very difficult.
I think you know what you're saying there. I don't think you're being naive in the fact that I think if I remember right from the feedback from the trailblazers of the LSIPs was a kind of request from MCAs and kind of LSIP areas for a kind of simplification of funding. So I don't think you're wrong in terms of asking that. I know certainly I was at a workshop last week at the AOC talking about this, and I think the West Midlands combined rep was pretty much saying what you're saying. It's really complicated to fund things, and we need to find a simpler, easier way to kind of deliver these absolutely essential skills to both young people and adults. So yeah, I think very interesting kind of debate. We do have actually a question, Stu, and I could answer this, but I'll kind of put it over to you as an actual client. So I've got a question from a provider that says, I'm a provider that delivers GCSE and functional skills English, maths and ESOL. These are not direct jobs or vocations. I struggle to work out which bits of Lightcast to use. So what do you suggest? I mean, we're talking about communication skills, aren't we there, Stu? So where do you kind of bring that in terms of obviously levels of communication and intensity of communication training required?
So if I use the FC United project as an example, so when we looked at the Lightcast data in that locality, obviously it doesn't come out as, you know, it's English, it's maths, it's ESOL that is actually preventing one, individuals getting into work, or two, what the employers who have got the post that are recruiting is demanding. However, to your point, when you look at the common skills part of the Lightcast data, you will always see near enough on everything I've looked at in all the localities that we're looking to set up these projects, communication being one, leadership, teamwork, etc. But so that kind of has some relevance in relation to where Lightcast can be guiding you. But of course, that's where you also look at the combined authorities priorities, and where you've got information within particularly the combined authorities that are on this, is that Manchester, for example, has very clear need for ESOL and basic English and maths training, because that's come out of a lot of their papers in terms of low skill, low paid jobs and why people can't access them. But also the fact that when you meet with key figures of the combined authorities, they normally tell you the reality of what their locality is suggesting. So great example of that was the workshop you delivered at the AOC with West Midlands, where it was really, really clear that no matter what the top ticket stuff was and the high skills and the high paid and the high qualification demands were, there was a real issue within the West Midlands of adults not having the basic English, maths, digital skills and language skills to access low paid jobs. So when you speak to the combined authorities, they give you enough confidence that they know that's a big, big area that they need to invest in. But again, it goes back to the point of brilliant. So I've got an offer here. Can we have some money? Well, no, you have to either go, and it all goes. And what was interesting, Ben, as well, and I really feel for, listen, you know my background's in further education colleges as well. And I really feel for further education colleges, because they get access, normally to their authorities pot. They'll get some of that pie, but because of the subcontracting rules and the tightening of that, they're even double and thinking and going back and forth of, well, what do we sub this out, or do we just wait and hope for the best and make sure that we spend it in the end? And then before you know it, they're facing a contract clawback or a contract underspend, and they're in such a difficult situation. And I had some conversations with colleges at the AOC saying, yeah, we're behind already, but our governing body, our board, are not ready to consider subcontracting yet because they don't want to breach the 25% threshold. So that's an added element of complexity that is making this very difficult for organisations like us to have a sensible conversation with the college to go, we've got hundreds of learners here, good quality, we're an outstanding provider, we'd love to work with you, but they're very hesitant, and that's so sad. That's such a shame, Ben.
And I think, ultimately, I don't kind of disagree with that. And I think ultimately the evidence-based approach through LSIPs, I think, will work well. And I think going back to the question, obviously Stu's kind of talked about, the need to kind of review that skills data. So if you've got access to the system, reports like course design, jobs and skills reports will give you that skills data to answer that question around kind of where English and maths fits in. In terms of translation, it's normally communications for English and problem solving for maths. So that's where you'll kind of see that. I think, Stu, obviously we could kind of talk all day. I'm sure people probably wouldn't want to listen to us all day about the state of policy space. But at the same time, I think what you're doing, and ultimately what we're seeing other colleges doing, and what we're seeing colleagues in the communities and government sector doing, is using this data and providing that evidence, and ultimately pushing that back through DFE and up to kind of central government to say, we do need to see a change, really, in how we kind of fund things. I also think the really clever thing that you're doing, and I think this is a lesson for all providers, whether you're a training provider or a college, is particularly around AEB, particularly around commercial delivery. You need to start looking at a more responsive approach to it. So looking at this data kind of month in, month out, and kind of almost never stopping planning, because ultimately, like your slide around that skills volatility, kind of says that things are different every month, every quarter. So I can see, I haven't got a crystal ball, but ultimately I can see when Stevolution's rolled out that most providers won't be delivering the same curriculum month in, month out, year in, year out, because effectively solve one skills challenge, another skills challenge will appear. So I think the ability to use this data very quickly and responsively kind of put that business plan together, I think, is an absolute skill. And clearly you've shown a fantastic example today. So I want to thank you for your time, and obviously thank everyone for their time in terms of tuning in. Just a couple of last things before we go off, and obviously Stu's email's on there. He's more than happy to kind of chat. And again, if there are any prime providers that want to work with SCL, then I'm sure Stu would be happy to have that conversation. 100%. So thanks ever so much, Stu. And a couple of slides just to sign off. So just a quick reminder, we've got the webinar machine rolls on from Lightcast. So we've got one next week on Wednesday to look at a new way of looking at skills in the labour market. So again, kind of following on from today, but very, very topical. We are talking a lot more around the language of skills at the minute, which is really interesting. And then one from my colleague Richard and Professor Rupert Ward from the University of Huddersfield on the 12th of December, and he's looking at skills data to inform and enable micro-credentialing. So this is very much around, again, short, sharp skills, credentials, how the university are kind of supporting graduates to become more and more attractive to the employment market and more resilient to kind of changes in the employment market. So that's everything from us. Thanks ever so much. Thanks again to Stu for sharing SCL's work and their journey so far. And I hope everyone's enjoyed today, and I hope you have a really good weekend. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.